Venezuela's deepening crisis. The situation is so bad that the food shortage has left some 50 zoo animals dead in the last 6 months. The animals are starving to death. Now, the ones that are still alive are relying on a staple diet of mango and pumpkin. This is what the lions and other big cats are being forced to eat too. Elephants are reportedly eating tropical fruit in lieu of their hay, and bears are only being fed half of their required daily calories. Now, there are also reports that some of the animals were killed and eaten by hungry people. Venezuela's socialist paradise is turning into a nightmare. Joining me now with the Page 5 report, reporter for the Independent Journal Review, Victoria Taff. Victoria, the president of Venezuela is blaming the U.S. for its problems. Can you believe it?
Yes, I can. I can believe it because we're the great Satan. And in fact, we're El Diablo. You know, Venezuela. It's a people's paradise. It's a utopia of equality. A God-gifted, resource-rich South American country ensconced in the protective, big brother-ish shadow of the Cordillera de la Costa Central Mountains. North and in Los Estados Unidos is the scourge. That would be us, the evil America, run by none other than El Diablo. Who could forget 9 years ago when the savior of Venezuela, Hugo Chavez, addressed the United Nations and called then-President Bush the devil, whose smell of sulfur still permeated the area around the podium.
Huele a azufre todavía. Ayer, el señor presidente de los Estados Unidos, a quien yo llamo el diablo.
Hugo's dead now, and his country's predicted to be dead soon, too. And what's left behind? Why, that's the sulfur smell of dystopia. Venezuela is on the verge of collapse. It is so bad in Venezuela right now that the entire country has run out of toilet paper several times. Diapers are a dream in the mind's eye of a baby's mother. And the country's inflation rate is so bad that the country cannot afford to print its own money. Need surgery? Bring your own scalpel. Hey, let's go shopping, shall we?
These people are desperate to buy goods sold at a government-regulated price, but they can only buy a limited amount once a week. With inflation so high, some have even left their jobs to make an income queuing for regulated price food and reselling it for at least 100 times its value in a thriving black market.
How are things going for you?
No.
There isn't even a name for this. This is what all us Venezuelans are going through.
When was the last time you ate?
Yesterday.
What time?
3 p.m.
Nothing since then? Water?
Just 4 glasses of water.
People have discovered that it's far more remunerative to stand in line for the store for people than to actually work a job. That's how bad things are, Steph.
Yeah, I've seen interviews where people are saying that waiting in line for food is a full-time job. And I understand there's food riots, looting, and security is becoming a problem.
Security is almost next to impossible for police to enforce. It's very difficult. Whenever there is a queue up outside of a store, what happens is that the authorities come by to make sure things do not devolve into a riot. That's where the looting has come from, people queuing up in line. And of course, there are no guns to private citizens in Venezuela because, after all, we can't have that.
And what can we learn from this? I mean, we know that Venezuela is an oil-rich country, could be a very rich country, so why are the people so poor? Why are people starving? Why are people eating zoo animals?
Well, one of the reasons that economists point to is the fact that the prices are fixed. We have fixed prices, and now what we have is people who are given all kinds of allotments, a monthly allotment, and when they may not even have needed it, when they wouldn't have gone to the store necessarily and bought it. So what they're doing is they're taking that and they're going to those queues at the stores and they're reselling their stuff. And in addition to that, the government stores, of course, have bare shelves, virtually bare shelves. Now there are private stores that have been born of the black market where people go and resell their monthly allotment. When you try to give equal amounts to different people throughout the country, you run out of money and you run out of stuff. And that's precisely what has happened in Venezuela.
And now this is being called socialism going to slavery. I mean, people
Yes.
are basically being forced to work by the government.
Yes, they are. And if it wasn't bad enough in Venezuela, right now we have people who are being forced to man stores and also to go out in the hinterlands and farm, pick up crops, make sure that things are working on the farm so that there's a constant supply of food. And that's what happens. There's not going to be a constant supply of food stuff. I hate to say it, but when the government takes over the supply and the productivity of man, what happens is shortages and enslavement. And that's precisely what's going on in Venezuela. And it's a shame because it's a human travesty. People will need to be saved. And guess who they're going to come looking for saviors? They're going to come looking at the free markets of the world, including the El Diablo in the Los Estados Unidos.